Marianna and Lee County welcome the Department of Parks and Tourism and the United States Forest Service to this appreciation dinner. Our new Mississippi River State Park is a partnership unlike any ever done in the United States. The United States Forest Service has never partnered with any state to place a state park in a national forest. In addition to these two major partners, there are several other agencies involved. The Arkansas Game and Fish Commission has long been an important part of the St. Francis National Forest. Their participation in law enforcement and game management will be even more important as our lakes and forests become more heavily used. Running the length of the new state park is the St. Francis National Forest, Arkansas Scenic Byway. This byway recently gained national recognition as it became a part of the Crowley's Ridge Parkway. This area is also part of the Great River Road, which runs from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. Local partners include Friends of the St. Francis, Marianna Lee County Chamber of Commerce, and the Marianna Economic Development Commission. Our new state park will be located in Lee and Phillips counties in the present St. Francis National Forest. The forest is bordered on the east by the Landgill, St. Francis, and Mississippi rivers. Presently, the two main recreation areas center around 625-acre Bear Creek Lake, which is in Lee County, and 420-acre Storm Creek Lake, which is in Phillips County. Annual fishing derbies at the Ranger Station Pond and at Storm Creek Lake introduce children to the joys of fishing. They also provide an opportunity for families to spend quality time together. Prizes are donated by local merchants, and volunteers from the community work hard to ensure that each child receives a prize. Local groups such as the Boy Scouts use the forest for campouts and jamborees. The history of this area runs deep. This is where the Woodland Indians, the early Mississippians, and the late Quapaws built their villages, just beyond reach of the river, yet close enough when the water receded to retrieve those fertile lands for crops of squash, beans, and maize. This is where the handsome men stalked deer and bear and bison. This is where DeSoto, his horses, and his armored troops spent that first summer after crossing the Father of Waters back in 1541. Their intrusion left awe and fear in the hearts of the downstream people. The Spaniards' legacy was disease and death. Later came gentler emissaries of the civilized world, Father Marquette and Joliet, but they only paused a few days near the mouth of the St. Francis on their way down the Mississippi. After the Indians came the settlers, not so much the plantation people attracted to the richness of the Delta land, but the hill folk from Tennessee and Carolina. They came by river in keel boats and flatboats. Had river traffic not yielded to the railroad, then historic old river towns such as Jeffersonville and Phillips Bayou might have continued to play important roles in the development of our state. Phillips Bayou was named for Sylvanus Phillips, who in 1798 built a log cabin near the mouth of the St. Francis River. He built a large sawmill near a little stream of water that emptied into the St. Francis. This stream became Phillips Bayou, and its name spread to include the entire community. Phillips Bayou continued to grow. Many river communities such as this once teemed with activity and became even busier at the sound of the whistle of a steamboat coming around the bend. In its heyday, Phillips Bayou had a ferry, 3 stores, and a warehouse. There were several doctors, churches, a school, 3 saloons, and 2 sawmills. There was a post office, a blacksmith, 2 steam gins, and a horse-powered cotton gin. There was even a picture show on a houseboat before Helena or Marianna had one. The outlaw John Murrell made Lee County, Arkansas his home. A very interesting Lee County landmark is an elevation that was thrown up at Phillips Bayou by Murrell and his Mystic Clan. This was used as a watch-out position for the produce boats. It's on Crowley's Ridge and is called Murrell's Mound or Murrell's Hill. It was named for the infamous gang leader. Murrell had some 300 to 400 men in his gang who were experts at robbing the produce boats in the Mississippi River. They not only robbed the boats, they killed the men on them. They would cut the people open, fill them full of rocks, and sink them in the Mississippi. He and his gang of unworthy followers held council and planned numerous forays from the Phillips Bayou area. There they divided their ill-gotten spoils. Many of the men sent out originally to break up the scurrilous gang ended up joining it. Like Robin Hood and other olden outlaws, many legends cling around the memory of John Murrell. There's hardly a community in West Tennessee, North Mississippi, or Eastern Arkansas that does not have its Murrell legends. The towns adjacent to the Mississippi River, from Cairo to Natchez, are all Murrell legend towns. Sylvanus Phillips was the stepfather of John Patterson, the first white child born west of the Mississippi. In 1850, John Patterson moved further up the river to a landing on the Landgill River. Patterson lived in this area his entire life. The following riddle was often asked by John Patterson. I was born in a kingdom, Spain, reared in an empire, France, attained manhood in a territory, am now a citizen of a state, and have never been more than 100 miles from where I was born. There's evidence of the many changes Patterson saw throughout his life. The last saloon at Phillips Bayou was in existence as late as 1889 and stood on the site where Hannon's store stood until recently. Phillips County was named for Sylvanus Phillips and its county seat for his daughter Helena. Even in more recent years, river travel was vital to the Marianna area. The steamboat Nettie Johnson was owned by Marianna businessman S.D. Johnston. The boat made regular trips from Miller Landing at Marianna to Memphis. The Stacker Lee was capable of transporting 700 bales of cotton from the Marianna dock to the city of Memphis. In the early 1900s, Marianna citizens enjoyed barge excursions on the Landgill River. Marianna and Bear Creek Lake have always been the focal point of the St. Francis National Forest. Bear Creek is a wonderful place, so beautiful that you would think Mother Nature really outdid herself here. In reality, it's an artificial lake formed by a dam which was built by the U.S. Soil Conservation Services in 1936 from acreage originally owned by the George Higgins family. The Higgins family cemetery can still be visited today. It's on a hill above the Bear Creek Spillway. Bear Creek was built by one of President Franklin Roosevelt's programs to provide jobs for America's hungry after the Great Depression. Teams of mules owned and managed by the citizens of Lee County worked for 3 years to construct the dam and the road from the top of County Farm Hill to West Helena. Although not a CCC program, the crew was there assisting in other ways. Cabins were built which were rented by the night. A swimming area, hotel, and pavilion were built, and a golf course was in the long-range plan. Shown here is the hotel at Bear Creek. It was called the Lakeside Lodge, with 32 rooms, and was open from March 15th through November 1st of each year. The Bear Creek Hotel was a grand place. It was visited by many dignitaries, such as Strom Thurmond, then governor of South Carolina. He's shown here as he campaigned for the presidency of the United States on the states' right ticket. Watch this early video showing the Bear Creek Hotel and dining room. A quick tour of the St. Francis National Forest. The ranger station is the heart of all forest operations. The St. Francis Scenic Byway follows the high road atop Crowley's Ridge to West Helena. The range program on the St. Francis is host to over 200 head of cattle. The range program encompasses 340 acres of Forest Service lands. The Methodist Youth Camp has been a fixture at Bear Creek Lake for many years. The cabins and dining facility are used by the Methodist Church and are available for rent to the public. Memories abound for the campers who spent summer nights here. The beautiful drive prepares one for the many sights to come. The old concession stand and bait shop has seen many a fine stringer of fish brought in. The handicap accessible fishing pier allows everyone the ability to enjoy the great outdoors. Beach Point Campground, the site of the old hotel, provides an excellent view of the lake. Who says you have to have a boat to enjoy fishing at Bear Creek? These modern restroom facilities were added recently. The Bear Creek Loop Nature Trail exposes hikers to many of the natural beauties unseen from the main road. Wooden steps and bridges direct hikers along this 0.8 of a mile loop. Signs such as this inform hikers about the different species of trees and plants in the forest. Bear Creek Lake Swimming Area, which enjoys some use today, was once a gathering place for the youth of Lee County. The launching ramp is often crowded with vehicles of optimistic fishermen. Before we leave Bear Creek Lake, we'd like you to see a video that was recently aired on Channel 3 out of Memphis. Leaving Bear Creek Lake, we'll travel to the picnic areas and campsites which are presently being renovated. The Friends of the St. Francis, volunteer senior citizens, and inmates from the East Arkansas Regional Unit at Bricky's are all working to improve the grounds. Local citizens and businesses have donated funds to purchase concrete picnic tables and steel barbecue pits for the enjoyment of all. Leaving Bear Creek Lake, the traveler along the Low Road or Old St. Francis Road is provided a view of the crops on Horseshoe Plantation. The Low Road is a beautiful drive beneath the ever-changing canopy of branches. This artesian well near Phillips Bayou is a popular place for the steamboats traveling on the Mississippi and St. Francis rivers to take on fresh water. Even today, these artesian springs provide an icy cold drink to travelers along the Low Road. Back in the 1800s, it was probably a popular place for the Mural Gang to ambush travelers. Traveling past Phillips Bayou, the cypress swamps of Beaver Pond come into view. Beaver Pond is an excellent place to view many species of animals and birds that are native to the St. Francis Forest. Alligators were stocked in this area back in 1979. Several gators still thrive here. The one shown here is affectionately called Fred by the employees of the Forest Service. The highlight of our tour is the confluence of the St. Francis and Mississippi rivers. Long before the days of steamboats, many Indian tribes inhabited this area. In 1541, the Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto is believed to have spent the summer near this area in his search for gold. He was the first white man to set foot in Arkansas. About 130 years later, two Frenchmen, Jacques Marquette, a Jesuit missionary, and Louis Joliet, a fur trader, visited the area. Today, visitors to this area can watch barges as they make their way up and down the mighty Mississippi. Our next stop is beautiful Horner's Neck Lake. This cypress-lined oxbow lake has a new boat launching ramp. Climbing Crowley's Ridge, we arrive at Storm Creek Lake. New restroom facilities are a highlight of the Storm Creek area. A new boat launching ramp was built with the help of contributions from local sportsmen. The high road or scenic byway provides outstanding views from atop Crowley's Ridge. Kudzu, which was imported to our country to stop soil erosion, now runs rampant along the hills of Crowley's Ridge. This cemetery along the high road has many graves dating back to the 1800s. Maintaining food plots for wildlife has been an important duty of the Forest Service. Local Lee County farmers have donated seed for these areas. Although the fire tower atop Crowley's Ridge is no longer in use, it's still a popular landmark. As we travel the scenic byway back to Bear Creek, you never know what you might encounter. But you can be sure it's going to be spectacular. Join us now as we take a quick look at the flora and fauna of the St. Francis National Forest. Over 60 of the 74 mammals occurring in Arkansas are found within the St. Francis National Forest. There are an estimated 20 waterfowl species, 60 shore wading bird species, over 10 species of raptors, and more than 100 other songbird species in the forest during the year. In addition, there are many species of amphibians, reptiles, rodents, and insects. The hard work and dedication of Dr. Charles West. Without his efforts, our Mississippi River State Park would have never been possible. The following video was filmed by Dr. West several years ago with hopes of bringing a state park to our area. For the role that each of you has played in our efforts to place the Mississippi River State Park in the St. Francis National Forest. We sincerely appreciate your attendance and attentiveness.